TFT has a lot of different ways to give yourself an advantage over your opponent. Some are small and insignificant, while others are even more useless. Let me show you 3 ways to barely get more out of your units. For our first trick, let's talk about Aatrox. This guy has a lot going on, and I really should be making a long video about all of his interactions, but today I just want to share one neat little trick. Did you know that Quicksilver is one of the best items you can currently give to Aatrox? The way the item normally works is that it grants 18 seconds of CC immunity at the start of combat. When Aatrox dies and then returns with the help of his passive, his items are not supposed to proc again. For example, you can't spawn another ZZ Rod or drop aggro again with Edge of Night, but Quicksilver is the exception. It does not matter if the initial duration is over or not. When he returns to the fight, he receives an additional 18 seconds of CC immunity. This means he is effectively CC immune for the full duration of the fight. So the next time you want to play Aatrox carry, this might be an item you want to prioritize on him. For our second trick, we have to visit Demacia. There used to be a pretty cool trick where you replaced units to reset the Demacia items, but as far as I know, this one doesn't work anymore. If I'm wrong about this, feel free to flame me in the comments. Anyways, the trick I want to show is a bit niche, but can be useful in some scenarios. You might know that if you hover over the unit type, you can see all the recommended items for the unit. These items are exactly the items that will roll for each Demacian unit, which is why you will often see a Radiant Morello on a Lux. There is also a special mechanic. If the unit has a normal item from this list, then it cannot roll the Radiant version of it anymore. Building 2 items from this list will therefore slightly increase the chances of the other items to appear. But this is not the trick I wanted to share. Instead, we will be making use of this mechanic. In this example, we have a Lux that rolled a Radiant blue buff in the same round where we found a normal blue buff that we wanted to give to her. What we can do here is to bench the Lux, give her the normal blue buff, and then return her to the board. Now the game will re-roll the Radiant item into something new because it does not want to give out the Radiant version of an item that you already have. Here she ends up receiving a Radiant Rabadons. In case you're wondering, this is not exclusive to unique items. In this example, we have a Kale with an RFC and a Radiant Gunblade. By giving her a normal Gunblade and then putting her on the bench and back on the board, the Gunblade will re-roll into a new item. In this case, a Radiant Static Shiv. For our last trick, let's stay in the Demacia region and use a different trick to get the Radiant item that we want. At the start of each round, a specific Radiant item will be assigned to each Demacian unit. However, the items can differ between 2 copies of the same unit. For example, here we have a Lux on the board that rolled a Jeweled Gauntlet, and on the bench, the other Lux has a Giant Slayer. If you find yourself in a scenario where both copies don't have any other items, then you can swap them and just run the items that you think will increase your chances of winning the next fight. But we can still take this mechanic one step further. For example, before buying Lux 2-star, you should first check the Radiant item for both Lux that you currently have. If you like one of them, then you should put the Lux with the useful item on the board and the other on the bench. This will prioritize the useful item for the upcoming fight. If you end up not liking any of your rolls, then you can gamble for a third option. Simply put both of your units on the bench, but keep the most left space of your bench free. Because of bench priority going from left to right, the Lux from the shop now becomes the base for Lux 2-star, and it will be her Radiant item that gets prioritized. This is a bit of a gamble because you don't know what you get, but if the other options were terrible, then you have nothing to lose anyways. Which trick was your personal favorite? Let me know in the comments. Also, I could really use some moral support since I will be losing my precious Zephyr in the mid set, so why not subscribe and support me and this channel. I hope you learned something and see you next time.